The early morning sun cast long shadows across Manhattan's steel and glass canyons as Serafina Morrow hurried through the bustling streets, her vanilla latte warming her hands against the crisp autumn air. Her heels clicked rhythmically against the sidewalk, a steady beat that matched the endless to-do list cycling through her mind. Another precisely planned day at Hale Enterprises was about to begin. "Morning, Ms. Morrow," called out Ricardo, the security guard, as she swept through the gleaming lobby of the towering skyscraper. His friendly greeting earned him a warm smile, one of the few genuine expressions she allowed herself during business hours. The elevator whispered up to the 52nd floor, and Serafina used those precious moments to check her reflection in the polished doors. Her honey-brown eyes scrutinized every detail. Navy blazer perfectly pressed, shoulder-length chestnut, hair smoothed into a neat low bun, minimal makeup enhancing her natural features. Everything designed to be efficient, professional, and above all unremarkable. The doors opened to reveal the epicenter of her carefully constructed world. Glass walls and sleek modernist furniture stretched before her, all leading to the corner office where Daxton Hale would arrive in exactly 27 minutes. She moved swiftly to her desk, fingers automatically reaching for the mother-of-pearl ring that hung on a delicate chain around her neck, a nervous habit she'd developed since her mother's passing 3 years ago. "You're earlier than usual," came a familiar voice, making Serafina jump slightly. Jasmine Carter leaned against the doorframe of the break room, her bold geometric print dress and natural curls a stark contrast to Serafina's intentionally subdued appearance. "Let me guess, quarterly reports?" "Board meeting prep," Serafina replied, already pulling up multiple screens on her computer. "Dax, Mr. Hale needs everything perfect for the shareholders." Jazz rolled her eyes, sauntering over to perch on the edge of Serafina's desk. "Girl, you've been his executive assistant for 3 years. When are you going to start calling him Dax like everyone else does?" "When hell freezes over," Serafina muttered, earning a laugh from her friend. "Professional boundaries matter." "Jazz, what matters is that you're hiding behind those boundaries," Jazz countered, lowering her voice as other employees began filtering into the office. "You're brilliant, Sarah. You graduated summa cum laude from Cornell, and yet you act like you're invisible." Serafina's fingers tightened around her coffee cup. "I'm not hiding. I'm being strategic." "Strategic about what? Blending into the wallpaper?" Before Serafina could respond, the atmosphere in the office shifted perceptibly. She didn't need to look up to know that Daxton Hale had arrived early. The sudden straightening of spines and hushing of voices told her everything. Her body tensed instinctively as his presence filled the space, that distinctive Tom Ford Oud, wood scent preceding him. "Ms. Carter," his cool voice cut through the morning quiet. "I wasn't aware the fashion column had relocated to the executive floor." Jazz stood smoothly, unfazed by his frosty tone. "Just spreading some morning cheer. Mr. Hale, we could use more of it around here." She shot Serafina a meaningful look before sashaying toward the elevator. Serafina kept her eyes fixed on her screen, but she could feel Daxton's gaze lingering. At 6'2", he cut an imposing figure in his charcoal Tom Ford suit, his steel blue eyes sharp as winter frost. Every aspect of his appearance spoke of precision and control, from his perfectly trimmed dark hair to his imported Italian shoes. "Ms. Morrow." His voice was carefully modulated, neither warm nor cold. "The board meeting materials?" "Complete and uploaded to your tablet, sir. I've included the latest market projections and highlighted the potential areas of concern in the Asian markets." She finally looked up, meeting his eyes with professional detachment. "Your morning coffee is on your desk. Black, no sugar. Would you like me to brief you on today's schedule now, or after you've reviewed the reports?" Something flickered in his expression, so brief she might have imagined it. "Now, please." He moved toward his office, expecting her to follow. Serafina gathered her tablet and stood, smoothing her skirt with practiced precision. As she followed him into the corner office, sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating Manhattan's skyline beyond. This was their morning ritual, as familiar as breathing. She would stand near his desk, tablet in hand, while he settled into his leather chair, and together they would orchestrate another day in the life of one of New York's most powerful men. But today felt different. As she began reciting his schedule, she noticed his attention wasn't on the tablet in front of him. It was on her. She could feel it like a physical touch, making her skin prickle with awareness. "The charity gala," he interrupted suddenly. "It's next Friday?" "Yes, sir, I've already declined the invitation on your behalf as you indicated last month." Daxton was silent for a long moment, his fingers drumming once on his desk, a rare display of uncertainty from a man known for his unwavering decisiveness. "Reverse it." Serafina's fingers froze over her tablet. "Sir?" "Accept the invitation." He turned to look out at the city, his profile sharp against the morning light. "For two." Her heart stuttered in her chest. "I'll contact your usual event coordinator for a companion." "No." He turned back to her, his blue-gray eyes intent. "You'll accompany me." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Serafina's fingers instinctively found her mother's ring, touching it like a talisman. "Mr. Hale, I don't think... Do you have other plans that evening, Ms. Morrow?" "No, but..." Then it settled. His tone bore the same finality he used in board meetings when closing million-dollar deals. "You've arranged every major event for this company for 3 years. It's time you attended one." He paused, something softening almost imperceptibly in his expression. "Unless you're uncomfortable with the idea?" Serafina stood perfectly still, her mind racing. This was dangerous territory. She'd spent 3 years carefully cultivating her role as the invisible woman, the perfectly efficient assistant who anticipated needs before they arose and solved problems before they developed. Attending the gala would mean stepping into the light, becoming visible. "Not uncomfortable, sir," she heard herself say. "Just surprised." "Good." He turned back to his computer, effectively dismissing her. "That will be all, Ms. Morrow." She walked back to her desk on autopilot, her heart thundering in her chest. As she sank into her chair, her phone buzzed with a text from Jazz. "Girl, what just happened in there? You look like you've seen a ghost." Serafina stared at the message, then at the closed door of Daxton's office. After 3 years of carefully maintained a distance of professional boundaries and practiced invisibility, everything was about to change, and she wasn't sure if she was ready for it. The news spread through Hale Enterprises like wildfire. By lunchtime, Serafina could feel the weight of curious stares and hushed conversations following her every movement. The executive floor, usually a model of corporate efficiency, had transformed into a hotbed of speculation and sideways glances. She maintained her composure, responding to emails and coordinating meetings with her usual precision, but her mother's ring felt heavier than ever against her collarbone. The simple piece of jewelry had been her anchor through countless difficult moments: college interviews, her first day at Hale Enterprises, her mother's funeral. Now, her fingers reached for it unconsciously as she overheard snippets of conversation near the break room. Always knew she was playing the long game. 3 years of playing the perfect assistant. Serafina pressed her lips together, focusing intently on her computer screen. The quarterly projections suddenly seemed fascinating, each number a welcome distraction from the gossip swirling around her. "Don't let them get to you," Jazz's voice cut through her thoughts as her friend appeared with 2 steaming cups of coffee. "They're just jealous because they've spent years throwing themselves at him while I what?" Serafina accepted the coffee gratefully, her voice barely above a whisper. "Made myself invisible? Buried myself in work? Proved I'm nothing more than a perfectly efficient assistant?" "No." Jazz perched on the edge of her desk, her expression serious. "While you earned his trust by being genuine, do you know how rare that is in his world?" Before Serafina could respond, the elevator doors opened, revealing Ethan Grayson. The company's COO moved through the office like a shark through calm waters, his expensive suit and perfectly coiffed silver-streaked hair doing little to mask his predatory nature. His eyes locked onto Serafina immediately. "Ms. Morrow," he called out, his voice carrying just enough to draw attention. A moment of your time? Jazz squeezed her shoulder before disappearing, leaving Serafina to face Ethan alone. She stood, smoothing her skirt, a nervous habit she'd never quite conquered. Mr. Grayson, how can I help you? His smile didn't reach his eyes. Walk with me? They moved toward the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, far enough from curious ears but still in full view of the office. Ethan's cologne, too strong, too artificial, made her want to step back, but she held her ground. I couldn't help but hear about your promotion, he said, emphasizing the last word with subtle mockery. It's not a promotion, Mr. Grayson. Mr. Hale simply requested my presence at the gala. Of course, he chuckled, the sound hollow and cold. But you must understand how it looks. Daxton has never brought an employee as his date. Not in all the years I've known him. I'm attending as his assistant, she corrected firmly, though her heart raced. Nothing more. We both know that's not true. Ethan turned to face her fully, his expression a masterpiece of false concern. Serafina, may I call you Serafina? I feel I should warn you. Daxton Hale is not a man known for his emotional attachments. Whatever game you think you're playing, I don't play games, Mr. Grayson. Her voice was quiet but steel-edged, and I'd appreciate it if you didn't imply otherwise. His eyes narrowed slightly. No? Then perhaps you're more naive than I thought. Did you know about Christina Blackwood? The name hit her like a physical blow. Everyone in New York's financial circles knew about Christina, the brilliant investment banker who'd been engaged to Daxton 5 years ago. Their relationship had ended spectacularly, with Christina leaving the country and Daxton becoming even more closed off than before. That's ancient history, Serafina managed, keeping her voice level. Is it? Because I was there, Serafina. I watched him systematically shut her out, crush her spirit, until she was a shell of herself. And she was his equal, a partner at Goldman Sachs, from old money. What do you think he'll do to someone like you? The words stung, but Serafina lifted her chin. Thank you for your concern, Mr. Grayson. Is there anything else you need? He studied her for a long moment, then smiled, a cold, calculating expression. No, that will be all, for now. As he walked away, Serafina remained by the window, her reflection ghostly in the glass. Behind her, she could see Daxton's office door opening, his tall frame filling the doorway. Their eyes met in the reflection, and for a moment something electric passed between them. Then his phone rang, and the moment shattered. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of meetings and phone calls. Serafina threw herself into work, grateful for the distraction. But at 6:45 p.m., just as she was preparing to leave, Daxton's voice came through the intercom. Ms. Morrow, a moment. She gathered her tablet and entered his office, finding him standing by the window where she'd talked with Ethan earlier. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of purple and gold, casting long shadows across his features. Close the door, please. She did, her pulse quickening despite her best efforts to remain calm. I couldn't help but notice your conversation with Ethan this morning, he said without preamble, still facing the window. It was nothing important, sir. Wasn't it? He turned then, his blue-gray eyes intense. Ethan Grayson doesn't waste time on unimportant conversations. Serafina hesitated, then decided on honesty. He was concerned about my attending the gala with you. Concerned. Daxton's jaw tightened. Or threatening. I can handle Mr. Grayson, she assured him, though her fingers found her mother's ring again. I know you can. His voice softened almost imperceptibly. You've handled everything I've thrown at you for 3 years without flinching. But this is different, isn't it? She met his gaze steadily. How so? Because now people are watching, talking, making assumptions. He moved closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, could see the faint lines around his eyes that spoke of too many late nights and difficult decisions. If you want to back out, do you want me to? The words escaped before she could stop them. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The city lights began twinkling to life beyond the windows, and somewhere in the distance a siren wailed. Finally, Daxton broke the silence. No. The word hung between them, heavy with unspoken meaning. But I need you to understand what you're walking into. The press will be there. Board members, competitors. They'll all have opinions about why I brought my assistant instead of someone more suitable? She couldn't quite keep the edge from her voice. His expression shifted, something almost like regret crossing his features. Instead of someone they expect, someone like Christina. The name landed like a stone between them. Serafina straightened her spine, channeling every ounce of professionalism she possessed. Mr. Hale, I've spent 3 years managing your public image. I know exactly what I'm walking into. The question is, do you? His eyebrows rose slightly at her boldness. Meaning that I'm very good at being invisible when needed. But if you're asking me to step into the spotlight, even for one night, she took a deep breath. I won't play a role. I won't pretend to be something I'm not. Not even for you. The words hung in the air between them, and for a moment, Serafina feared she'd crossed a line. But then something changed in Daxton's expression, a softening around the eyes, a slight upturn at the corner of his mouth. Good, he said simply, because that's exactly why I asked you. Before she could process that statement, his phone buzzed. The spell broke and they both stepped back, returning to their professional personas like actors donning familiar masks. That will be all, Ms. Morrow. Have a good evening. She nodded and turned to leave, but his voice stopped her at the door. Serafina? She looked back, startled by his use of her first name. Thank you for being honest. She managed a small smile. Always, Mr. Hale. As she gathered her things and headed for the elevator, her phone buzzed with a text from Jazz. Dinner tonight. No excuses. We need to talk about what you're going to wear to this gala. Serafina smiled despite herself, but her conversation with Ethan Grayson nagged at her thoughts. As the elevator descended, she caught her reflection in the polished doors, the careful bun, the conservative blazer, the professional mask she wore so well. For 3 years, she'd made herself invisible. In 9 days, she would step into the spotlight and nothing would ever be the same. The question was she ready for what that light would reveal? Absolutely not. Serafina stood in Jazz's spacious Tribeca loft, arms crossed, staring at the dress her friend held up. The red silk creation seemed to catch every beam of light in the room, demanding attention. I might as well wear a sign that says, "Looking for gossip." Jazz rolled her eyes, hanging the dress back among the dozens of options spread across her bedroom. That's kind of the point, honey. You've spent 3 years hiding in neutral colors. It's time to make a statement. I don't want to make a statement. Serafina sank onto the plush velvet ottoman, accepting the glass of wine Jazz handed her. I want to attend this gala, do my job, and maintain my professional reputation. Your professional reputation? Jazz settled beside her, dark eyes serious. Or your protective walls? Before Serafina could respond, her phone buzzed. A text from Daxton lit up the screen. Need the Henderson merger files. Where are they? It's almost midnight, Jazz protested as Serafina began typing a response. Don't tell me he expects you to work now. He doesn't expect anything. But the Asian markets are opening and the merger is time-sensitive. Her fingers flew across the screen. Third folder from the left on your desk, blue tab. Digital copies in the secure drive under Project Aurora. His response came immediately. Found them. Thank you. Something warm flickered in her chest at those 2 simple words. Daxton never wasted time on unnecessary pleasantries, which made his occasional moments of gratitude feel surprisingly meaningful. Earth to Sarah. Jazz waved a hand in front of her face. You're doing that thing again. What thing? That soft little smile you get whenever he acknowledges you're human instead of a walking efficiency machine. Jazz took a sip of wine, studying her friend over the rim of her glass. You know, for someone who claims to want professional distance, you sure light up when he notices you. Serafina felt heat rise to her cheeks. I do not, please. Jazz stood, moving to rifle through another rack of dresses. I've watched you both for 3 years. The way he tracks your movement across the office. The way you anticipate his needs before he even realizes them. It's like some elaborate dance where neither of you admits there's music playing. You're romanticizing a perfectly normal working relationship. Am I? Jazz pulled out another dress, this one a deep midnight blue that seemed to shimmer with hidden depths. Then why did he really ask you to this gala? The question hit, too close to the doubts that had been plaguing Serafina all week. Because I'm efficient, safe. I won't embarrass him or create complications. Bullshit. Jazz held up the blue dress. Daxton Hale doesn't do anything without calculating every angle. He could have hired a professional escort, taken some socialite, or gone alone like he usually does. Instead, he chose you. The question is, are you ready to understand why? Serafina stood, running her fingers over the smooth fabric of the dress. It reminded her of the way the sky looked from Daxton's office just before dawn, when she'd occasionally find him there early, standing by the window with a contemplative expression she never saw during business hours. Try it on, Jazz urged, softly. In the privacy of Jazz's massive walk-in closet, Serafina slipped into the dress, the silk draped perfectly, highlighting curves she usually kept hidden under conservative business wear. The neckline was elegant rather than revealing, but the back dipped low enough to make her breath catch. Oh my God. Jazz appeared, in the doorway, hands clasped to her chest. Sarah, you're stunning. Serafina turned to the full-length mirror, hardly recognizing herself. The dress transformed her usual quiet beauty into something luminous. Her mother's ring, resting against her collarbone, seemed to catch the same mysterious light as the fabric. I can't wear this, she whispered, but her protest lacked conviction. You can, and you will. Jazz moved behind her, gathering Serafina's chestnut hair and twisting it up to demonstrate a sophisticated style. Because this dress doesn't shout for attention, it commands it, just like you should have been doing all along. Serafina's phone buzzed again. Another text from Daxton. The structural analysis in section 4.2 is exactly what I needed. Good call including it. Jazz read the message over her shoulder and smirked. He's thinking about you. He's thinking about work. At midnight? Honey, men like Daxton Hale don't text their assistants at midnight about work unless work isn't really what they're thinking about. Before Serafina could argue, her phone rang. Not a text this time. An actual call. From Daxton. Mr. Hale? She answered, automatically shifting into professional mode despite standing in an evening gown in her friend's closet. Ms. Morrow. His voice was lower than usual, with an edge she couldn't quite identify. I apologize for the late hour. Is everything all right with the merger documents? The documents are fine. He paused, and she could hear the faint clink of ice in a glass. I'm calling about tomorrow's schedule. Jazz raised an eyebrow, mouthing, Schedule? Really? Of course, Serafina replied smoothly, ignoring her friend's theatrical eye roll. What do you need? Clear my lunch. I'd like you to join me at La Grenouille to discuss the gala arrangements. Her heart skipped. La Grenouille was one of the most exclusive restaurants in Manhattan, hardly the place for a business lunch with an assistant. Sir, I can brief you on the arrangements here in the office. Serafina. The use of her first name, combined with that low tone, made her skin tingle. Have lunch with me. It wasn't quite a request, but it wasn't quite a command either. It hung somewhere in between, like so many things between them lately. Yes, she heard herself say. What time? I'll have a car pick you up at 12:30. After they hung up, Jazz practically bounced with excitement. A private lunch at La Grenouille? Girl, that's not a business meeting. That's a date. It's not a date. Serafina sank onto the closet's velvet bench, suddenly overwhelmed. He probably wants to make sure I won't embarrass him at the gala. Right. Because the woman who's managed his entire life flawlessly for 3 years suddenly needs coaching on proper fork usage. Jazz sat beside her, taking her hands. Sarah, honey, look at me. What are you really afraid of? Serafina stared. At their joined hands, her voice barely above a whisper. Falling. Falling how? Just falling. Into this. Into him. Into everything I've spent 3 years trying not to feel. She touched her mother's ring, drawing strength from it. I know what happens to women who fall for Daxton Hale. I've seen the aftermath. Christina was just the most public example. But you're not Christina. Jazz squeezed her hands. You're not some society princess who saw him as a prize to be won. You've seen him at his worst, sleep-deprived and caffeine-fueled during mergers, angry after failed deals, stressed during market downturns. You've seen behind the mask he shows everyone else, and you're still here. That's different. I'm paid to be here. Are you paid to text him at midnight? To anticipate his needs before he knows them? To care about him the way you so clearly do? Serafina pulled her hands away, standing to look at herself in the mirror again. The woman reflected back seemed caught between two worlds. The elegant blue dress speaking of possibility, while her rigid posture betrayed her fear. I should go home, she said finally. I have an early meeting tomorrow before lunch. Jazz helped her change back into her regular clothes, carefully hanging up the blue dress. You're taking this one, no arguments. Jazz, for the gala, whether you wear it or not is up to you. Jazz pressed the garment bag into her hands. But remember something. That woman in the mirror, the one who looked like she could command an empire with a single glance, she's always been there. The dress just helped you see her. Later that night, lying in bed in her Upper East Side apartment, modest by neighborhood standards but carefully decorated with the clean lines and subtle luxury she'd learned to appreciate from working with Daxton, Serafina found herself unable to sleep. Her phone showed 2 a.m., and she could imagine Daxton still in his office, suit jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up as he pored over the merger documents. Did he think of her too, in these quiet hours? Did he wonder about the boundaries they were starting to blur? Or was this all just an elaborate business strategy she couldn't yet see? Her phone lit up one final time. Get some sleep, Miss. Tomorrow will be interesting. She stared at the message, feeling that familiar warmth spread through her chest. 3 years of professional distance were crumbling, and tomorrow's lunch would either build new walls or tear down the remaining ones. The question was, which outcome did she truly want? La Grenouille's intimate dining room hummed with the quiet conversations of Manhattan's elite. Crystal glasses caught the afternoon light, creating prisms across starched white tablecloths. Serafina sat across from Daxton Hale, hyper-aware of every detail, the way his fingers traced the rim of his water glass, the subtle power in his shoulders beneath his perfectly tailored suit, the intensity of his blue-gray eyes as they studied her over the menu. The Dover sole here is excellent, he said, breaking the charged silence between them. Though I suspect you already knew that. She smiled slightly. I've made your reservations here 17 times in the past 3 years. I know every item on the menu, including Chef Maurice's seasonal specialties. Of course you do. Something that might have been admiration flickered in his eyes. And yet you've never joined me before. You've never asked. The words hung between them as their waiter approached, a distinguished older gentleman who clearly recognized Daxton. After they ordered, Dover sole for him, coq au vin for her, Daxton leaned back, studying her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. Tell me something, Ms. Morrow. Why did you accept this lunch invitation? She took a sip of water, buying time. Would you prefer honesty or diplomacy? From you? Always honesty. I accepted because saying no wasn't really an option. She met his gaze steadily. But you already knew that. The real question is, why did you ask? Before he could answer, a familiar voice cut through the restaurant's refined atmosphere. Daxton, What a delightful surprise. Serafina's spine stiffened as Vanessa Laurent approached their table. The president of Laurent Financial was everything Serafina wasn't: tall, blonde, and brazenly confident in her Chanel suit. Her smile was razor-sharp as her eyes flicked between them. Having a little business lunch? Vanessa's tone suggested she believed nothing of the sort. Vanessa? Daxton's voice held a warning edge. I wasn't aware you were back from Paris. Just returned yesterday. Perfect timing, it seems. She turned her predatory smile on Serafina. I don't believe we've been properly introduced, though I've seen you hovering in the background at countless events. You're Daxton's assistant, correct? Executive assistant, Daxton corrected sharply. Ms. Morrow runs my entire operation. How fascinating. Vanessa's perfectly manicured hand came to rest on Daxton's shoulder. We should catch up soon, darling. I have some thoughts about the Richardson portfolio that might interest you. Call my office. His tone was dismissive. Ms. Morrow handles my schedule. Vanessa's fingers tightened briefly on his shoulder before withdrawing. Of course. Enjoy your meeting. As she sashayed away, Serafina found herself studying the condensation on her water glass, fighting the urge to retreat behind her professional mask. She's wrong, you know. Serafina looked up, startled by the gentleness in Daxton's voice. About what? You don't hover in the background. You command it. Every event, every crisis, every victory. You're the one keeping everything running perfectly. He leaned forward slightly. I've always noticed. Her heart thundered in her chest. Mr. Hale. Daxton, he interrupted. Please, at least here. The arrival of their meals provided a welcome distraction. They ate in companionable silence for a few minutes before Daxton spoke again. The gala isn't just a social event. Ethan's been making moves with the board suggesting we need new leadership, younger blood. His jaw tightened. He's building alliances. Understanding dawned. And you need to present a united front, show strength. Something cold settled in her stomach. Is that why you asked me to attend? To show you trust your team completely? No. His response was immediate, almost angry. That's what Ethan thinks. He believes I'm using you as a power play. Aren't you? Daxton set down his fork, his expression intense. Do you really believe that? Before she could answer, his phone buzzed. The caller ID showed the Hong Kong office, a call he couldn't ignore. As he excused himself to take it, Serafina found herself watching him move through the restaurant. Every head turned to track his progress, drawn by the sheer magnetism of his presence. Her own phone vibrated with a text from Jazz. How's the not a date going? Instead of responding, she opened her email, needing the comfort of work. What she found made her blood run cold. Someone had leaked photos of her and Daxton entering La Grenouille to several gossip sites. The headlines were already spinning. Daxton Hale's secret romance, power, passion, and promotion. The assistant who caught the King of Wall Street from secretary to sweetheart. Hale's latest conquest. Her hands shook as she scrolled through the coverage. 3 years of careful professionalism threatened to unravel over a single lunch. When Daxton returned, he took one look at her face and knew. You've seen the articles. This is exactly what I was afraid of. She locked her phone, fighting for composure. Your reputation? My reputation. He laughed darkly. I'm more concerned about yours. These vultures will tear apart everything you've built, reduce all your accomplishments to cheap innuendo. Then why risk it? Why ask me to lunch, to the gala? You must have known this would happen. His expression softened. Because some things are worth the risk. The weight of those words settled over their table. In the golden afternoon light, Serafina could see past his usual masks. The calculating CEO, the ruthless businessman. For a moment, she glimpsed something raw and honest in his eyes. The merger documents you sent last night, he said suddenly. You included notes about potential cultural integration challenges between the companies. Nobody else caught that. Nobody else even thought to look. She blinked at the sudden change of subject. It's important to consider the human element in any merger. Yes, it is. He studied her intently. You see things others miss. Not just in business, in everything, in everyone. Including you. Especially me. He signaled for the check. That's what terrifies Ethan. What terrifies them all. Not that I might be involved with my assistant, but that my assistant might actually deserve her place at my side. As they stood to leave, he placed his hand at the small of her back, a gesture that felt both protective and possessive. Cameras flashed outside the restaurant's elegant facade. Serafina instinctively started to step away, but his hand held firm. No more hiding, he murmured, close enough that she could feel his breath against her ear. Let them talk. The car, ride back to the office, was silent, charged with unspoken possibilities. But as they neared Hale Enterprises, Serafina's phone buzzed with an urgent message from HR. They want to see me, she said quietly. About maintaining appropriate professional boundaries. Daxton's jaw clenched. I'll handle it. No. She straightened her spine. I need to handle this myself. If I'm going to step out of the shadows, I have to do it on my own terms. He studied her for a long moment before nodding. Just remember something, Serafina. You've never been in anyone's shadow. They just weren't paying attention to the light. As she walked into the HR office 15 minutes later, head held high, she could still feel the ghost of his hand on her back, the weight of his words in her heart. The world was watching now, waiting to see if she'd fall. But maybe, just maybe, she was finally ready to fly instead. The HR meeting lasted exactly 47 minutes. Serafina sat perfectly poised in her charcoal gray suit, hands folded in, her lap as Regina Matthews, the head of human resources, reviewed the company's fraternization policies. We understand your position is unique, Regina said, peering over her rimless glasses. Mr. Hale has significant latitude in how he runs his office. However, the board has concerns about the appearance of impropriety. I understand their concerns, Serafina replied evenly. But I'd like to clarify something. Have there been any complaints about my performance? Any suggestions that I've received preferential treatment or failed to maintain professional standards? Regina shuffled through the papers before her. No, your performance reviews have been exemplary. And has Mr. Hale's productivity or decision-making shown any decline since I became his executive assistant? On the contrary, the board notes that the past 3 years have shown remarkable growth. Serafina allowed herself a small smile. Then perhaps we should focus on actual impropriety rather than its appearance. As she left the HR office, her phone buzzed with multiple notifications. The story had evolved. Someone had leaked her salary history and educational background to the press. The new headlines were even more savage. Cornell grad to corporate climber. The calculated rise of Serafina. Morrow exclusive, inside the assistant. With the Ivy League brain. She was so absorbed in reading that she nearly collided with Ethan Grayson in the hallway. Careful, Serafina. His smile was cold as winter. Though I must say you're making quite the splash today. Mr. Grayson. She moved to step around him, but he blocked her path. You know what fascinates me? He lowered his voice conspiratorially. How someone with your credentials ended up as an assistant. Cornell graduate summa cum laude offers from multiple top firms, yet you chose to fetch coffee for Daxton Hale. Why is that? She met his gaze steadily. Perhaps you should ask Mr. Hale why he hired me. Oh, I have my theories. He stepped closer, forcing her to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. Just like I have theories about why Christina really left. Would you like to hear them? Not particularly. No? His expression turned predatory. What about my theories regarding the Maxwell Industries deal last year? The one that mysteriously fell through after you spent late nights reviewing the contracts? Serafina's blood ran cold. She remembered those nights clearly, discovering the hidden clauses that would have allowed Maxwell to strip Hale Enterprises of key assets after the merger. Are you implying something, Mr. Grayson? Just that loyal assistants are so hard to find these days. Ones who know when to keep quiet about certain details. He straightened his tie. The board meeting next week should be interesting. Lots of questions about judgment and transparency. Before she could respond, another voice cut through the tension. "Everything all right here?" Daxton stood at the end of the hallway, his expression thunderous. Ethan stepped back smoothly, his demeanor shifting to casual friendliness. "Just catching up with your charming assistant," he said with a sharp smile. "She's quite the topic of conversation today." "Then I suggest you find a new topic." Daxton's tone could have frozen hell. "The board meeting prep needs your attention." Ethan inclined his head in mock deference and strode away. Serafina released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "My office," Daxton said quietly. "Now." She followed him, acutely aware of the whispers and stares from their colleagues. As soon as the door closed behind them, Daxton's controlled facade cracked. "What did he say to you?" "Nothing concrete." She sank into one of the leather chairs. "Just implications about Christina, the Maxwell deal." "Damn it." Daxton ran a hand through his hair, a rare display of frustration. "He's making his move sooner than I expected." "The board meeting?" "He's planning to challenge my leadership." Daxton's laugh was bitter. "And now he'll use my relationship with you as evidence of poor judgment." Her heart skipped at the word relationship. "We don't have, don't we?" He turned to face her, his eyes intense. 3 years of early mornings and late nights. 3 years of finishing each other's sentences and communicating without words. 3 years of trust that goes far beyond employee and employer. She touched her mother's ring, seeking its familiar comfort. "That's different." "Is it?" He moved closer, his presence filling her senses. "Then why does everyone see what we've been trying so hard to ignore?" Before she could answer, his private line rang, the one reserved for family emergencies. The color drained from his face as he answered. "When?" His voice was taut. "I'll be right there." He hung up, already reaching for his coat. "My father's had a heart attack." Serafina was on her feet instantly, reaching for her tablet. "I'll have the car brought around and clear your schedule." "No." He caught her hand, the contact sending electricity through her veins. "I need you to handle things here. Ethan will try to use my absence to his advantage. But, please." His fingers tightened around hers. "You're the only one I trust." The weight of that trust settled over her like a mantle. She straightened her spine, nodding. "Go. I'll take care of everything." He held her gaze for a moment longer, something unspoken passing between them. Then he was gone, leaving her alone in his office with the late afternoon sun painting shadows on the walls. Her phone buzzed again, Jazz this time. "Girl, the internet is wild right now, you okay?" Instead of responding, Serafina moved to Daxton's desk, sitting in his chair. She had work to do. Opening her laptop, she began drafting emails to key board members, her fingers flying across the keyboard. If Ethan wanted to play games, he'd learn what she was capable of when protecting what mattered to her. A soft knock at the door interrupted her focus. Vanessa Laurent stood in the doorway, her smile sharp as a blade. My, she purred, already claiming his throne? Serafina didn't rise from Daxton's chair. "How can I help you, Ms. Laurent?" "Actually, I was hoping to help you." Vanessa glided into the office, perfectly coiffed and predatory. "You see, I knew Christina quite well. We had such interesting conversations about Daxton's particular tastes in relationships. I'm not interested in gossip." "No? What about interested in survival?" Vanessa perched on the edge of the desk. "Because right now, darling, you're swimming with sharks, and from where I'm sitting, you look an awful lot like chum." Serafina met her gaze coolly. "Then you need to look closer, Ms. Laurent, because I'm not swimming with sharks." She allowed herself a small, dangerous smile. "I'm hunting them." Something like respect flickered in Vanessa's eyes. She stood, smoothing her skirt. "Well, this should be entertaining at least. Do give Daxton my best when he returns. If he returns. After she left, Serafina let out a shaky breath. Her phone lit up with another message, from Daxton this time. Father's stable, surgery tomorrow, don't let them see you sweat. She smiled slightly, typing back, never do. The sun had set by the time she finished her work, leaving her alone in the dimly lit office. On Daxton's desk, she spotted a small note in his distinctive handwriting. Coordinates, followed by 8 p.m. tomorrow. Her heart raced as she Googled the location. It was a private helipad, the one she knew he used for emergency business trips. But this didn't feel like business. It felt like a choice. As she gathered her things to leave, she caught her reflection in the window. The woman, staring back, wasn't the invisible assistant anymore. She was someone who sat in Daxton Hale's chair, fought his battles, and maybe, just maybe, held his heart. The question was, what would she do with that power? The helicopter's blades cut through the twilight sky, creating a rhythmic pulse that matched Serafina's racing heart. She stood at the edge of the helipad, her hair whipping around her face as she watched the sleek black aircraft descend. The Manhattan skyline sparkled behind her, a constellation of artificial stars against the deepening night. Daxton emerged. From the helicopter, his suit slightly rumpled, tie loosened, a rare sight of imperfection that made him seem startlingly human. His eyes found her immediately, something raw and vulnerable in his expression. You came, he said as he reached her, his voice barely audible over the dying whir of the blades. Of course I came. She studied his face, noting the exhaustion in his eyes. How's your father? Stable. Stubborn. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. He asked about you. That surprised her. Me? His exact words were, that assistant of yours, the one who actually makes you behave like a human being, she's still keeping you in line? The tension in his shoulders eased slightly as he spoke, and Serafina found herself relaxing in response. This was familiar territory, the way they balanced each other even in crisis. The board meeting's been moved to Thursday, she said, falling into their usual rhythm. I've briefed the key members about your father's condition and… Serafina. He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne mixed with hospital antiseptic. I didn't ask you here to discuss work. Her pulse quickened. Then why did you? Instead of answering, he moved to the helipad's edge, looking out over the city. Did you know this is where I came the night Christina left? Just stood here for hours, watching the city move below, wondering how someone could know every detail of your life and still not really know you at all. She joined him at the railing, careful to maintain a small distance. Is that what happened? She didn't know you? She knew the version of me I thought I had to be. The ruthless CEO, the calculated risk-taker, the man who never let emotion cloud his judgment. He turned to face her. But you've seen every version. The 3 a.m. crisis calls, the victory celebrations, the moments when everything falls apart. You've seen me at my worst and my best. It's my job to see you, she said softly. No. His voice was fierce. Your job is to manage my schedule, coordinate meetings, handle correspondence. Your job isn't to remember how I take my coffee when I'm stressed versus when I'm celebrating. It isn't to play that classical playlist you pretend not to curate, specifically for late nights at the office. It isn't to leave sticky notes with terrible puns on merger documents because you know they make me smile. Her breath caught. She hadn't realized he'd noticed those small details. When my father was being wheeled into surgery, he continued, do you know what he said to me? He said, don't be an idiot like I was. Don't let pride cost you the people who matter. He reached out, his fingers brushing her mother's ring where it rested against her collarbone. You touch this when you're nervous, when you're thinking about her, when you need strength. You noticed that? I notice everything about you. His hand moved to cup her cheek. I think I always have. The moment stretched between them, electric with possibility. But Serafina forced herself to step back, her mind racing with the complications. The board meeting, she said. Ethan's challenge. The press. Your father's condition. This isn't the time for what? Truth? His laugh was soft but determined. I've spent 3 years watching you build walls to protect yourself. 3 years respecting those walls because I thought that's what you needed. But now? Now what's different? Now I know what it feels like to almost lose everything. To sit in a hospital waiting room and realize that all the power, all the control I've built my life around, it means nothing compared to the people who matter. He stepped closer again, erasing the distance she'd put between them. You matter, Serafina. The city lights blurred in her vision. Daxton. The night I hired you, he continued, you were the only candidate who challenged me. Everyone else promised to anticipate my needs, but you? You looked me in the eye and said you'd tell me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear. That's when I knew. Knew what? That you were dangerous. His smile was soft but genuine. Because you saw through every defense, every mask, every carefully constructed wall. And instead of using that knowledge for advantage like Christina, like Vanessa, you used it to make me better. A warm breeze swirled around them, carrying the faint sounds of the city below. Serafina's heart thundered in her chest as Daxton reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn photograph. My father gave me this today. It's from my first day as CEO. He handed it to her. Look at my expression. She studied the photo. Young Daxton stood behind his desk, impeccable in his suit, but his eyes. You look terrified, she whispered. I was, but I couldn't show it. Couldn't let anyone see the cracks in the armor. He took the photo back, his fingers brushing hers. Until you. You didn't just see the cracks, you helped me understand that they're what make us human. And now? Her voice was barely audible. What do you want now? Now? He smiled, and it transformed his entire face. Now I want to take you flying. She blinked. What? He gestured to the helicopter. Manhattan at night from above. No walls, no masks, no pretending. Just us, seeing things from a new perspective. He held out his hand. Trust me? Serafina looked at his offered hand, feeling the weight of the moment. Everything would change if she took it. The careful boundaries she'd built, the professional distance she'd maintained, all of it would shift into something new, something terrifying and exhilarating. Her fingers found her mother's ring one last time, drawing strength from its familiar touch. Then, with a deep breath, she placed her hand in his. Always have, she said. His smile was like sunrise breaking through clouds. As he led her to the helicopter, she caught their reflection in its polished surface, no longer CEO and assistant, but two people on the verge of something extraordinary. The city spread out below them as they rose into the night sky, a tapestry of lights and possibilities. And if Daxton's hand stayed entwined with hers throughout the flight, well, some boundaries were meant to be crossed. Some walls were meant to fall. The morning headlines hit like a thunderbolt. Hale Enterprises in crisis. CEO's father hospitalized as leadership challenge looms exclusive. Board members question. Daxton Hale's judgment amid personal scandal, sources reveal. The assistant who brought down a dynasty. Serafina stared at her phone, still wearing the clothes from last night's helicopter ride. She'd barely slept, her mind replaying every moment. The way Daxton's hand felt in hers. The breathtaking view of Manhattan at night. Their quiet conversation above the clouds. Now, in the harsh light of morning, reality came crashing back. Her intercom buzzed. Ms. Morrow? Ricardo's voice was unusually tense. Mr. Grayson is here to see you. Says it's urgent. She straightened her blazer, squaring her shoulders. Send him up. Ethan strode into her office like he owned it, dropping a thick folder on her desk. Quite the evening you had. The helipad at Pier 6 provides such a romantic view, doesn't it? Her blood ran cold, but she kept her expression neutral. What do you want, Mr. Grayson? To offer you a choice. He opened the folder, spreading out photographs, surveillance shots from the helipad, financial documents, old emails. The board meeting is tomorrow. Daxton's father is in critical condition. The timing couldn't be better for a change in leadership. And you think these will help you achieve that? These? He smiled coldly. These are just the opening act. The real show is what's in here. He tapped a sealed envelope. Proof that you helped Daxton hide significant losses during the Maxwell deal. Altered documents, covered tracks. All very clever, but very illegal. That's not what happened. No? He raised an eyebrow. The board won't care about the truth. They'll see what I want them to see. A CEO compromised by his relationship with his assistant, making dangerous decisions, hiding information, unless what? Unless you help me. He leaned forward. Testify against him at tomorrow's board meeting. Confirm that he's been emotionally unstable, making risky choices. Do that, and I'll make sure you're protected. Promoted even. Senior VP of Operations has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Serafina stood slowly, her voice deadly quiet. Get out. Think carefully, Serafina. This isn't just about your career anymore. It's about prison time, financial ruin, complete destruction of everything you've both built. He placed a business card on her desk. You have until midnight to decide. After he left, Serafina sank back into her chair, her hands shaking. Her phone buzzed with a text from Daxton. Morning update from the hospital. He's stable. Missing you. Those two simple words, missing you, made her heart twist. Before she could respond, Jazz burst into her office. Tell me you've seen the news. Her friend's face was grave. It's bad, Sarah. Really bad. How bad? Jazz pulled up a video on her phone. Vanessa Laurent sat in a TV studio, perfectly composed, as she spoke. I've known Daxton for years. The pressure of running the company combined with his father's health crisis. Well, let's just say his judgment hasn't been what it used to be. The board is rightfully concerned. They're moving against him from all sides, Jazz said softly. And you're caught in the crossfire. Serafina touched her mother's ring, mind racing. I need your help. Anything. The gala is tonight. I need you to get me ready. Not as an assistant stepping into the spotlight, but as someone who belongs there. Someone who can fight back. Jazz's eyes lit up. Now that's what I'm talking about. But first, she gestured to Serafina's wrinkled clothes. Want to tell me about that helicopter ride? For the first time that morning, Serafina smiled. It was perfect. He was perfect, which makes what I have to do now even harder. What do you mean? Before she could answer, her phone rang. Daxton's private line. Sir? I thought we were past sir. His voice was warm, despite the exhaustion she could hear in it. The doctors want to keep him another night for observation. I need you to represent me at the gala. Daxton, I trust you, he cut in, more than anyone. Whatever Ethan's planning, whatever games they're playing, you're the only one I trust to handle it. The weight of those words settled over her like a cloak. I won't let you down. After they hung up, she turned to Jazz. I need you to help me get into the company's secure server. What? Jazz's eyes widened. Sarah, that's illegal? Yes, but so is what Ethan's doing. She pulled out her laptop. The Maxwell deal wasn't just about hidden losses. It was about preventing a hostile takeover that would have destroyed thousands of jobs. We did what we had to do to protect people. And now? Now I'm going to protect Daxton. She met her friend's gaze. Will you help me? Jazz studied her for a long moment before nodding, always. But first, she picked up the garment bag she'd brought. Let's get you ready for war. Hours later, Serafina stood in front of her mirror, barely recognizing herself. The midnight blue dress from their shopping trip now seemed like armor, its subtle shimmer catching the light like steel. Her chestnut hair was swept up in an elegant twist, her makeup flawless but fierce. "You look like a queen," Jazz said softly. "Now go show them what a queen can do." As her car approached the gala venue, Serafina's phone lit up with a final text from Daxton. "The photo of my first day as CEO? I keep it to remind me of who I was, but when I'm with you, I remember who I want to be. Be careful tonight. Trust no one." She touched her mother's ring, drawing strength from it one last time. Then she stepped out of the car into a storm of camera flashes, her head held high. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning, and this time she wasn't playing by anyone else's rules. The Metropolitan Museum's Great Hall glittered with New York's financial elite. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light over evening gowns, and tuxedos champagne flowed freely, and the air buzzed with barely concealed tension. As Serafina moved through the crowd, she felt the weight of every stare, heard the whispers that followed in her wake. "Did you see who just arrived?" "Daxton Hale's assistant, while his father's in the hospital." "Heard the board. Is furious, quite." She kept her chin high, channeling every ounce of confidence she'd learned from watching Daxton command rooms like this. Her midnight blue dress caught the light with each step, and her mother's ring rested against her collarbone like a talisman. Well, well. Vanessa Laurent materialized beside her, resplendent in crimson. "Flying solo tonight? How brave." "Ms. Laurent." Serafina's smile was polite but arctic. "Lovely interview this morning, though you might want a fact-check next time. The Asian market numbers you quoted were off by quite a margin." Vanessa's perfect smile faltered slightly. "Perhaps we should discuss those numbers privately. I'm sure we could find some mutual understanding." "The only thing I understand," Serafina replied softly, "is that you're betting on the wrong horse." Before Vanessa could respond, Regina Matthews from HR approached, looking uncomfortable in her formal wear. "Ms. Morrow, the board members are asking for you. They're in the private gallery." Serafina nodded, her pulse quickening. This was it. The moment everything would change. She drew a deep breath and headed for the museum's west wing, her heels clicking against the marble floors. The private gallery was dimmer than the main hall, illuminated mainly by track lighting on priceless artifacts. 7 board members waited, along with Ethan Grayson, who smiled like a predator seeing prey. Ms. Morrow, William Chen, the board's senior member, gestured to a chair. "Please join us." She remained standing. "I prefer to stand, thank you." "As you wish." Chen's expression was unreadable. "We've been discussing the situation at Hale Enterprises. Mr. Grayson has brought some concerning information to our attention." "Has he?" Serafina's voice was calm, betraying none of the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "And did he mention his own role in the Maxwell industry situation?" Ethan's smile wavered. "I'm not sure what you're implying." "No implications." She withdrew a tablet from her clutch. "Just facts. Would you like to see the real numbers from the Maxwell deal? The ones showing how Mr. Grayson attempted to orchestrate a hostile takeover using shell companies." The board members stirred, exchanging glances. Chen leaned forward. "What evidence do you have?" "Everything." She activated the tablet's display, projecting documents onto the gallery's wall. Financial transfers, shell company structures, communications, with Maxwell's board. Mr. Grayson wasn't trying to save Hale Enterprises. He was trying to strip it for parts. "These documents are fake," Ethan snapped, but sweat beaded on his forehead. "Are they? The SEC might disagree." She turned to the board. "We didn't hide losses during the Maxwell deal. We prevented a corporate raider from destroying thousands of jobs. Everything we did was to protect this company and its people." "We?" Chen's eyebrow rose. "You admit to being involved?" "I admit to doing my job. Protecting Hale Enterprises, its CEO, and its employees." She straightened her spine. "And I'd do it again." The gallery doors opened, and Vanessa Laurent swept in. "Don't believe a word she says. She's just trying to save her lover's position." "Actually," A new voice cut through the tension. She's trying to save all of your positions. Serafina's heart stopped. Daxton stood in the doorway, his presence commanding even in slightly rumpled evening wear. He must have come straight from the hospital. "This is a private meeting," Ethan began, but Daxton cut him off. "In my company's name, using my company's resources, discussing my company's future." He moved to stand beside Serafina. "I think that makes it my meeting." "Your father," Chen started, "is awake and furious that he's missing the drama." Daxton's lips twitched. "He specifically told me to, and I quote, 'Stop being an idiot, and go get your girl before she has to save the whole damn company by herself.'" A ripple of surprised laughter went through the board members. Even Chen's stern expression softened slightly. "The Maxwell deal," Ethan tried one last time. "The hidden documents were necessary to prevent you from destroying everything my family built." Daxton's voice turned to steel. "Did you really think we wouldn't find out? That Ms. Morrow wouldn't discover your paper trail?" "She's just an assistant," Vanessa sneered. "No." Daxton's hand found Serafina's, entwining their fingers. "She's the reason this company has thrived for the past 3 years. The reason I've become a better leader, a better man." He turned to the board. "If you want my resignation, you can have it. But know that you'll lose her too, and she's the best asset this company has." Silence fell over the gallery. Chen looked between them, then at the damning evidence still projected on the wall. Finally, he stood. "Mr. Grace and Ms. Laurent, I believe your invitations to this gala have just been revoked." His smile was razor sharp. "And the board will expect your formal resignations on our desks first thing Monday morning." As security quietly escorted Ethan and Vanessa out, the other board members filed out of the gallery, leaving Serafina alone with Daxton. His hand was still wrapped around hers, warm and solid and real. "Your father?" she asked softly. "Recovering, ornery, demanding to meet you properly." He turned to face her, his free hand coming up to touch her cheek. "You look stunning, by the way, like something out of a dream. A good dream or a nightmare?" She tried to joke, but her voice trembled slightly. "The best kind." His thumb brushed her lower lip. "The kind I never want to wake up from." "Daxton," she took a shaky breath. "The press, the rumors, your reputation. Let them talk." He smiled, and it transformed his entire face. "I'm tired of hiding how I feel about you. Tired of pretending you're just my assistant when you're the most remarkable woman I've ever known." From the main hall, the orchestra began playing a waltz. The sound drifted into the gallery, soft and romantic. "Dance with me," he murmured. "Here? Now?" "Right here. Right now." His eyes sparkled with something she'd never seen before. Pure, unbridled joy. No more boardrooms, no more pretense, just us. As he pulled her into his arms, spinning her gently to the distant music, Serafina felt the last of her walls crumble. They moved together in the dim gallery, surrounded by ancient artifacts and modern victory, and everything else fell away. "I love you," he whispered against her hair. "I think I have since the day you walked into my office and told me my time management skills were atrocious." She laughed softly, tears pricking her eyes. "They were atrocious. They still are. That's why I need you." He pulled back just enough to meet her gaze. "In every way possible." Instead of answering, she raised up on her toes and kissed him. It was gentle at first, then deeper. 3 years of unspoken feelings pouring out in a single moment. When they finally parted, both slightly breathless, she smiled. "Your schedule tomorrow is clear until noon," she murmured. "I took the liberty of rearranging it." His laugh echoed through the gallery. "Efficient as always, Ms. Morrow." "Always." "Mr. Hale." She nestled closer as they continued to sway to the music. "Always." The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Mount Sinai Hospital's VIP suite. where Lawrence Hale sat propped up against crisp white pillows, looking remarkably commanding despite his hospital gown. His steel-gray hair and sharp features mirrored his son's, though laughter lines around his eyes hinted at a warmer nature. "So," he said, fixing Serafina with an appraising look, "you're the woman who's been running my company for the past 3 years." "Father," Daxton warned from his position by the window, but there was no heat in his tone. "What? It's true." Lawrence's eyes twinkled. "Did you really think I believed you suddenly developed organizational skills? Started remembering birthdays? Finally learned how to handle the press without looking like you'd rather be wrestling alligators?" Serafina felt her lips twitch. "To be fair, sir, he has gotten better at the press. Only because you write my talking points," Daxton muttered, "and thank God for that." Lawrence reached for the water glass beside his bed. Serafina moved to help him, but he waved her off. "I'm not dead yet, young lady. Just needed a tune-up." He took a sip, then fixed his son with a pointed look. "Though I might have died of old age waiting for you to admit your feelings for this." Color rose in Daxton's cheeks, a sight so rare that Serafina had to stifle a laugh. "Father, we're not here to discuss—" "Oh, but we are." Lawrence settled back against his pillows. "Because I'm about to make things very interesting. For both of you." Something in his tone made Serafina straighten in her chair. After the events at the gala, after the long night of press statements and damage control, she'd thought the drama was finally over. Clearly, she'd underestimated the elder Hale. "I'm retiring," Lawrence announced. "For real this time. No advisory, physician, no emeritus status. Just me, my fishing boat, and maybe that little villa in Tuscany I've had my eye on." "You hate fishing," Daxton pointed out. "Details." Lawrence waved his hand dismissively. "The point is, the company needs new blood, young blood. People who understand that business isn't just about profit margins and market shares, it's about people." His gaze settled on Serafina. "People like you, my dear." Her heart skipped. "Sir? I'm recommending to the board that you be appointed as Chief Operations Officer." He held up a hand as both Serafina and Daxton started to speak. "Not because you're dating my son, though it's about damn time, but because you've essentially been doing the job anyway. Might as well get the title and salary to match." "The board," Serafina began, but Lawrence cut her off. "Already agreed, unanimously. After that little show you put on at the gala, exposing Ethan's schemes, they'd be idiots not to see your value." He smiled, softer now. "Besides, every great leader needs a partner who challenges them, someone who makes them better." His eyes drifted to a photo on his bedside table, a beautiful woman with Daxton's blue-gray eyes gone too soon. "I should know." Silence fell over the room, heavy with memory and meaning. Serafina felt Daxton move behind her chair, his hand coming to rest on her shoulder. The gesture was both protective and possessive, sending warmth through her entire body. "There will be talk," she said finally. "People will say I slept my way to the top. Let them talk." Lawrence's voice was steel. "Success makes people uncomfortable, especially when it comes from someone they underestimated. But you know what the best revenge is?" "What's that?" "Being damn good at your job." He winked. "Which you already are." A knock at the door interrupted them. Jazz poked her head in, looking uncharacteristically nervous. "Sorry to interrupt, but the press is gathering downstairs. They want statements about the leadership changes." Serafina stood, smoothing her skirt, a habit that now made Daxton smile every time he noticed it. "I'll handle it." "We'll handle it," he corrected, taking her hand. "Together." As they headed for the door, Lawrence called out, "Oh, and Serafina?" She turned back. "Yes, sir?" "That ring you wear, your mother's?" At her nod, he continued, "Keep it close. But remember, there's room on those fingers for new memories, too." He shot his son a meaningful look that made Daxton cough suddenly. In the elevator, heading down to face the press, Serafina felt Daxton's eyes on her. "What?" "Nothing." But he was smiling. "Just thinking about how far we've come from that first interview." You mean when I told you your time management was horrible and your coffee habit was concerning? And I hired you on the spot because you were the first person brave enough to tell me the truth. His thumb traced circles on her palm. Still are. The elevator doors opened to reveal a lobby full of reporters and flashing cameras. Daxton squeezed her hand. Ready? She touched her mother's ring once more, then straightened her spine. Always. They stepped out together, facing the camera's glare. But this time, Serafina didn't try to fade into the background. This time, she stood proudly at Daxton's side, where she had always belonged. Mr. Hale, is it true about the leadership changes? Ms. Morrow, how do you respond to accusations of favoritism? What about the rumors of impropriety? Daxton started to step forward, but Serafina beat him to it. Her voice rang clear and confident through the lobby. Hale Enterprises is entering a new era, she began, feeling Daxton's proud gaze on her, one where merit outweighs politics, where innovation trumps tradition, and where the only impropriety would be failing to recognize talent regardless of its source. She felt Daxton's hand slip around her waist, a public declaration that made the cameras flash faster. But for once, she didn't mind the attention. She had earned this moment, not through manipulation or schemes, but through years of hard work, integrity, and unwavering dedication. As the questions continued, she caught their reflection in the lobby's marble walls, no longer the invisible assistant and the untouchable CEO, but partners in every sense of the word. Equal, strong, together. And if some of the society photographers noticed the way Daxton's hand kept drifting to his pocket, where a small velvet box had been burning a hole for the past week, well, that was tomorrow's headline. 6 months later, Serafina stood in Daxton's, their office, watching the sun rise over Manhattan. The city was just waking up, streetlights giving way to dawn's gentle glow. Her reflection in the window showed a woman transformed, still elegant and professional in her tailored suit, but with a confidence that radiated from within. Thackle. Street Journal lay open on the desk behind her, its headline making her smile. Hale Enterprises posts record profits under new leadership team. Dynamic duo revolutionizes corporate culture while maintaining market dominance. Still reading your own press? Daxton's voice came from the doorway, warm with amusement, just making sure they spelled everything correctly. She turned to face him, taking in his relaxed stance. How was breakfast with your father? Enlightening. He moved to join her at the window, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. He's planning to extend his stay in Tuscany. Says he's met someone. Really? She leaned back against his chest. Good for him. His chin rested on her shoulder. He also asked when we're going to make him a grandfather. But I told him we're taking things one step at a time. Serafina's hand drifted to her mother's ring, now paired with a stunning diamond engagement ring that caught the morning light. Speaking of steps, have you reviewed the Miller proposal? Changed the subject already? He chuckled against her neck. But yes, I looked at it. Your notes were spot on. Their expansion timeline is too aggressive. I was thinking, she turned in his arms to face him. What if we approached it differently? Instead of a straight acquisition, we could structure it as a phased integration. Let them maintain some autonomy while we... His kiss cut off her words, soft and sweet and familiar. I love when you talk business strategy, he murmured against her lips. Mr. Hale, she said primly, though her eyes sparkled. This is highly unprofessional behavior. Is it, Mrs. Almost Hale? His smile was boyish. Should I call HR? They're still recovering from planning our engagement party. She stepped back, straightening his tie. Besides, we have the board meeting in 20 minutes. Always keeping me on schedule. He caught her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. What would I do without you? Crash and burn. But her tone was tender. Fortunately, you'll never have to find out. A knock at the door interrupted them. Jazz breezed in, her arms full of folders. Sorry to break up the romance, lovebirds, but the quarterly reports are ready for review. She paused, taking in their proximity. Though I can come back if you're busy making the next generation of CEOs. Jazz. Serafina felt her cheeks warm. What? Lawrence keeps asking me when it's happening. Apparently, he's got a betting pool going with the board members. She dropped the folders on the desk with a flourish. Speaking of which, you'll never guess who I saw having dinner together last night. Regina from HR and William Chen, Daxton said without looking up from the reports. Jazz's jaw dropped. How did you? Because he asked me for restaurant recommendations last week. He glanced up, smirking. I suggested La Grenouille. Of course you did. Serafina shook her head, but she was smiling. Some things had come full circle. The intercom buzzed. Ms. Morrow. It was Ricardo, his voice warm with familiarity. The board members are arriving. Thank you, Ricardo. She gathered her tablet and notes, then caught her reflection one last time in the window. The morning sun painted Manhattan in shades of possibility, just as it had that first day 3 years ago when she'd walked into Hale Enterprises terrified but determined. Shall we? Daxton held out his hand. She took it without hesitation, their fingers intertwining naturally. As they walked toward the boardroom, heads held high, she thought about all the moments that had led them here. Late nights over merger, documents, early mornings with coffee and hidden smiles, helicopter rides in hospital rooms, galas and confrontations and quiet victories. The boardroom doors opened to reveal the familiar faces of their leadership team. No more Ethan with his schemes, no more Vanessa with her manipulations. Instead, there were people they trusted, people who had earned their positions through merit and dedication. Before we begin, William Chen said as they took their seats, I believe congratulations are in order. The London office's numbers are extraordinary. Thank you, Serafina and Daxton said in unison, then shared a smile. And, Chen continued with a twinkle in his eye, I trust we'll have more celebrations soon. His meaningful glance at Serafina's engagement ring made several board members chuckle. One thing at a time, she replied diplomatically, but under the table, Daxton's hand found hers again. The meeting proceeded smoothly, a testament to how well they worked together. She no longer sat in the background taking notes. Now she led presentations, challenged assumptions, shaped the future of the company they both loved. And through it all, Daxton watched her with that same mix of pride and adoration that still made her heart skip. Later that evening, as the office emptied and the city lights began to twinkle, they stood together at their favorite spot by the window. The same view that had witnessed their first real conversation now watched them plan their future. I've been thinking, Daxton said softly, his arms around her waist, about what you said regarding the Miller integration. She leaned back against him, content. You're right, as usual. He pressed a kiss to her temple. But I was also thinking about something else. What's that? Maybe it's time to talk about that grandchild my father keeps asking for. She turned in his arms, heart racing. Really? Really? His smile was soft, vulnerable in a way only she got to see. I want everything with you, Serafina, the company, the family, the future, all of it. She reached up to touch his face, remembering all the masks he used to wear, all the walls they'd both built and torn down together. We've come a long way from coffee runs and meeting schedules. No, he corrected gently. We've come exactly where we were always meant to be. As he kissed her, slow and sweet and full of promise, the city spread out below them like a sea of stars. But Serafina didn't need to look outside to see her future anymore. It was right here, in this office where it all began, with the man who had seen her when she was trying to be invisible. Sometimes love isn't about grand gestures or dramatic declarations. Sometimes it's about coffee orders and late-night texts, about trust built over years and walls torn down brick by brick. Sometimes it's about two people who were meant to be partners in every sense of the word, finding their way to each other, one board meeting at a time. And sometimes, just sometimes, it's about an assistant and a CEO who discovered that the greatest merger of all was between two hearts that were always meant to beat as one. 1 year later, the morning sun streamed through the windows of Daxton's old office, now converted into a more modern shared workspace. 2 desks faced each other, both equipped with state-of-the-art technology and impressive views of Manhattan. On one wall hung 3 framed items: the original Cornell acceptance letter that had started Serafina's journey, the photograph of young Daxton on his first day as CEO, and between them a recent Wall Street Journal cover featuring them both, titled "The Future of Corporate Leadership." Serafina stood by the window, one hand resting on her slightly swollen belly, the other holding her mother's ring, now on a longer chain to accommodate her changing figure. Behind her, Daxton's arms wrapped around her waist, his hands joining, hers over their growing miracle. "She's kicking again," he murmured against her ear. "She knows her father's voice." Serafina smiled, leaning back against him. "Just like she knows when you're reviewing quarterly reports, that's when she's most active. Already a business prodigy." His chuckle vibrated through her, though her grandmother might have other ideas. He was referring to Lawrence's new wife, Isabella, a vivacious Italian artist who had brought unexpected joy and color to the elder Hale's life. Their small, intimate wedding in Tuscany 3 months ago had been a celebration of second chances and new beginnings. The sound of heels clicking on marble announced Jazz's arrival. Now head of corporate communications, she still maintained her bold style, though her fashion choices had evolved to reflect her executive position. "The car's ready," she announced, then smiled at the sight of them. "Though if you keep being this adorable, the photographers won't need to try very hard." Today marked the official opening of the Morrow Hale Foundation, their joint venture dedicated to providing educational opportunities to underprivileged students. The press would be there, eager to capture the power couple in action. But for once, neither of them minded the attention. "Ready?" Daxton asked, helping Serafina into her elegant maternity blazer, custom-made naturally. She touched her mother's ring one last time, then squared her shoulders. "Always." As they walked toward the elevator, hand in hand, Ricardo called out from his security desk, "Good luck today, Mr. and Mrs. Hale." Serafina smiled, remembering all the mornings he'd greeted her simply as Ms. Morrow. How far they'd all come. In the car, Daxton pulled out his phone, showing her a text from his father. "Tell my granddaughter that Nonna Isabella is already planning her first trip to Florence. Poor child won't know what hit her." "Your father's happier than I've ever seen him," Serafina observed. "We all are." Daxton squeezed her hand. "Though I still maintain you fell in love with me for my coffee order. Vanilla latte in crisis, black during victories." She laughed. "More like I fell in love with the man who noticed everything but couldn't see what was right in front of him." "I saw you," he corrected softly. "I just needed to become worthy of you." As the car moved through Manhattan's busy streets, Serafina thought about the journey that had brought them here. From invisible assistant to powerful COO, from lonely CEO to loving husband, they had transformed not just themselves, but the very nature of corporate leadership. Their story had become something of a legend in business circles. The assistant who rose through the ranks not through manipulation or schemes, but through genuine talent and integrity. The CEO who learned that true power comes not from control, but from partnership. Together, they had rewritten the rules of success. But more than that, they had written their own love story. One of quiet moments and profound understanding, of challenges faced together and victories shared. Their daughter would grow up knowing that love doesn't diminish power, it enhances it. The car slowed to a stop outside the Foundation's new building. Camera flashes were already visible through the tinted windows. "One last thing," Daxton said, reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a small velvet box similar to but smaller than her engagement ring box. Inside was a delicate charm for her necklace, a tiny helicopter. "For remembering where we started," he explained as she blinked back tears. Serafina touched the charm where it now hung alongside her mother's ring, the past and the future, perfectly balanced. "Let's go change some lives," she said. Together, They stepped out into the bright New York morning, ready to face whatever came next. Because that's what true partners do. They face the future hand in hand, stronger together than they ever were apart. And somewhere, high above Manhattan's gleaming towers, the morning sun sparkled off the windows of their office, the place where an invisible assistant and a lonely CEO had found not just success, but the kind of love that transforms, uplifts, and endures. Some might call it a fairy tale, they called it destiny. Serafina transformed herself from an assistant who struggled to be invisible into a powerful and confident COO. At some point in your life, have you felt like her in the beginning, trying not to attract attention, even though you knew your potential? What made you finally decide to shine? Or are you still on this journey of self-discovery? Your participation in the channel is very important. Please leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you very much for watching to the end. If you like the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Leave a like and share your opinion in the comments. Your participation is very important to us. See you next time.